And we're on. Rossana Tello, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's start from, let's just start from the beginning. So where are you from and how did you get into what you're doing now?
Okay, so I was born in Peru in South America. I lived there for the first 9 years of my life. My childhood was a bit of a roller coaster, but my grandma was the one that raised me up to that point because my father had to come to the States, like just like a lot of immigrant parents. They had to move to a different state because the economy down there wasn't as good. So when my father left, I was 4 years old, and then my mother, they both separated because my mother just couldn't handle the responsibility of having 4 kids on her own. So I was like, I am the second. My sister, I have an older sister and two younger brothers. So then my mother separated. We were kind of left, quote unquote, abandoned by my mother, and my grandmother had to step in. So from the age of 4 to 9 years old, for 5 years, my grandmother was the one that had custody of us. So she took care of us until my father built a foundation in States and come and got us and took us to the States. And from the age of 9 all the way up to I'm currently 34 right now. I know I don't look it, but I'm good. So I'm 34, and so I've been here for since then. And I mean, in mid to that, I've been traveling back and forth to Peru and other countries, and yeah. So that's basically, I guess, a little bit of my timeline of where I have been in the world. But I've been to a lot of places. But yeah, my home is New York because I grew up there. But I my heart is in Peru. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was looking through your pictures on Instagram, a lot of it was New York, Peru, New York, Peru, and you're wanting to teach and like spread the wisdom that you were learning from Peru, right? So you're from your grandma, and
Yes.
like, so how did you?
Yes.
What was that? How long have you been trying to do that, and how did you get into the plant medicine part of it?
Oh, okay. That's very funny because my grandmother, she's a very strong woman and an entrepreneur in at heart. But she was born in Cusco in the Sacred Valley of Peru, and she only knew the indigenous language. I mean, one of the indigenous language in Peru, which is Quechua, and she had to migrate to the city of Lima for the economy. So she basically had to learn how to speak Spanish and grew up there. So when she went into the city, she started learning more about like the church, even though her culture was more into the spiritualism realm, the shamanism realm, the healing with the plants realm. But she was my parent, like my mother and father figure. I saw her doing a couple of things. Like sometimes she would like do a couple of rituals, and she would really rarely take us to the hospital and to take us like if we had a cold or something. She would like get plants and give it to us. Had all these like crazy remedies. Sometimes she would say some weird stuff like, oh, the spirits are here, or like something like that. It would throw me off, and I would like, since it was kind of a bit of a confusion part of what growing up with her at the beginning, because even though she had that in her culture, she also went to church and she was extremely religious. Like she prayed to the statue, she would make us kiss the floor of the church. So it was such a two extremes that I in the church condemns all of that stuff. It says you're worshiping the devil, or that's like the devil's work. You don't do anything to do with shamanism, right? I mean, at least in Peru at that time. So for me, it was like, what is grandma doing? Is she talking to the devil? So my little mind was already saying, no, I don't want nothing to do with that whole shamanism. That's bad, bad, bad. But my grandma did tell me that my grandma told me there's the key steps to success, or key few things that you need to do in order to be happy in life. Because I saw her working extremely hard. I mean, she had 5 kids of her own, and then she had 4 other kids that were just left for her to take care of. She like worked her ass off just to get us by, you know. And I didn't want that for me. I wanted her to have a better future too. I want her to have a better like retirement period. And also I didn't want to see myself through what she was going through. So I listened to her. She said to me, there's a few things that you need to do in order to succeed. One is basically save your money. Don't spend your money. Put your money underneath your bed, on the mattress, you know, all the old school stuff. Two, she would say, don't talk to anyone. Don't trust anyone. Nobody's your friend. And I guess all because of the hardships that she encountered. She said only family are allowed. Then I think the third thing she said, go to school and get a good career. Like make sure you get like an excellent career and get a good pay. And the last thing she said, do not kiss any boys. I was like, you know. So my grandma's like, I was like, oh, okay. Well, grandma, you have 5 kids. How'd you manage that? But anyways, my mind like focused. Like I got so like, okay, I gotta go to school. So I went to school and I was very like just like a tunnel vision. I need to succeed. And that's what I did. I was in high honors. I was like that Miss Goody two shoes type of student. Like I, Rossana, could do no wrong. Out of the 4 kids, I was like me. When I came to the States, you know, it was like a different world, but I still had the same like goals, go to school. So I did that until like I got the best job, and I still like I'm an MRI specialist now in the city of New York. So I like it, but like it got to the point where my mind and my heart were not connected. I was just very unsatisfied. And I think I was caught up in, since I was a child, I was caught up in the responsibility of just doing things and not really enjoying it, not really feeling it. Like I skipped my childhood into adulthood because I was like, okay, grandma's struggling, family's struggling. Let me try to make something better out of this situation. So I just like, I didn't really get to enjoy myself as much as I should. I mean, my childhood was, yeah, it was rough, but there's had a couple moments where I did enjoy my life, you know, but it got to the point where I was like around 22 and I hit rock bottom. Like I literally found myself so lost, unsatisfied, even though I had the best job. In the eyes of an outsider, they thought like I had the perfect life. I had, you know, I had a best job, I had a car, I was young, I was single, I was thriving. But inside I felt dead. Like there was nothing in there. There was, you know, and when I came to the States, I jumped into a different religion too, because I felt like, well, God is going to save me. You know, if anybody else needs to save me, it's going to be God. So I went into the route or finding a religion that was so strict, and you know, and I got into their teachings, and I thought that was the best way for me to go. And then I encountered a very toxic relationship in the midst of that whole religion phase, that it just, I was so lost. I found myself in that state of mind where I was just so unhappy with myself. And I think there was also issues when I was young, the whole mother abandoned me, like not having a relationship with my father, that I never really sat down and asked myself how did I feel about those whole situations. I just kind of rushed into being an adult from a child, and I like suck it up. But it got to the point when I was the age of 22 that it hit me in the face, and it just like all those emotions is like boom, and I didn't know where they were coming from. All of a sudden, like I just felt overwhelmed, and I felt sad, and I felt lost. So I was like, I just couldn't understand it. So I couldn't understand, and there was nobody in church, no religion or nothing that could tell me be happy. I was just extremely sad. So I was clinically diagnosed as what do they call me? I know I had depression, but they call it clinically depressive disorder or something like that, which I kind of forget what the term that they use. But I was put in the hospital once, actually twice, for like a week. And they're just like, I was so skinny. I was kind of lost. But in the midst of that, I was trying to like understand myself. Why do I feel this way? Why do I feel unsatisfied if I have everything, right? So I needed to understand something, but then there was something calling me inside of me, like, you need to research something in Peru, go back in Peru. I right now I can't recall what exactly was the trigger, but I know something in there planted a seed. Like, I remember when I got out of the hospital, they had me move back in with my aunt because I was living by myself. And my aunt asked me, she said to me, like, why are you so sad? Like, why don't you smile? Why, you have everything in your life. She kind of was upset because she was tired of me, like, just um, being upset all the time. And I went to my room. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I remember just like lying in my bed, and I was like, I need to make a choice whether I want to die or fight for my life. I can't be in this limbo of like, I don't know, because it's not really worth living like this. So I grabbed my cell phone, and in my cell phone had a talk about this guy. His name is Earl Nightingale, and he had a talk about like the biggest secret of I think the strangest secret, I think it's called. It's like a 20-minute talk, and it's an old school talk. But that talk that I listened to, I was like, whatever, what am I going to gain or lose? I'll just listen to it. And it really triggers something in my brain that I was like, I felt like I woke up from the dead, and something in my brain, like, it impacted. And I was like, I am never going to sit on a Sunday afternoon in my house just because I don't feel happy. So, and I just looked at the trees, and there was something peculiar about those trees. They were just like, kept like waving at me, like making some signs. And I was like, I need to go outside. And that's how I texted my friend, and I was like, listen, next Sunday, are you doing anything? And she's like, no. I was like, we're gonna go, and we're gonna go hiking. And she's like, what the hell is hiking? I was like, I don't know, you walk in the woods or something, but we're gonna do it. And since then, I like literally went on a healing path on my own with nature. And literally, like, by going into the woods, I felt like my mind was like releasing so many like energy, and I would get like fresh thoughts that would make me feel better. So I constantly did it. I did it religiously. That was like my meetup with God, my meetup with myself. Every Sunday I found myself in different trails in New York and with different friends. And the funniest thing is that that's how I started a hiking group, because a friend told another friend and another friend. And little did I know, one day I turned around, there was like 50 people behind me hiking with me. And it wasn't just myself, it was a whole bunch of people. And I was like, cool, this is amazing. So I started renting houses. I started organizing trips to nature because I felt like people needed that. People needed that escape from, or not escape, but like a reunion with themselves in nature. So I wanted to provide that for them because how it helped me. And honestly, like all the meds that the doctors gave me, it made me feel numb, still more lost than I was before. But with nature, I little by little, I started recognizing who I was, why was I was having this pain, what did I needed to get out of that situation. And it was beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. And in there, my father was like, why don't you go to church anymore? I was like, I do every Sunday. I meet up God in nature. What are you talking about? And he's like, okay, fine. But now everybody understands. I love nature. That is where the energy of God lives. Like, I have a passion, and I thank nature so much, because if it wasn't for nature, I wouldn't be alive today. I would be like a lost woman still, or not even here. So that kind of like developed. And then I don't know, maybe I ran across, I mean, I knew about the sacred plant, the mother plant, ayahuasca. I kind of knew about her, and I was kind of scared to even meet her, but it was a calling, like a desire to go see her. So I didn't tell none of my family, because obviously most of my families, they were religious, and if they heard me go there with the shaman, they probably think I'm going to meet up with the devil. So I didn't tell them. I just went by myself. I took a flight down to South America, and I had my first ceremony, and it was rough. And it was rough. It was one of the most intense. I felt like, what the hell happened? Like, I felt like I just needed to run. I needed to find like I don't know. I just felt like a kid wanting to run in the forest, run so far because I couldn't understand what just happened. Um, but I went back a year, maybe a year or 2 years after, to do another session, a ceremony with the same shaman, and it was the most beautiful experience ever because I literally, like, I met my ancestors. Like, they came out to me, and it was funny because, like, on the session, maybe people don't, maybe they're not familiar with the sacred plants, but in Peruvian culture, that is something that is not to get high. It's not a pleasant moment because it's an encounter with yourself and things that you need to work on, things that you might not know that you need to know, might not know that you want to remember. So it's not a let's go get high tonight. No, because it could be very rough and depending on what you have inside. So, and usually, like, you don't really go to the plant kind of calls you. And it's not necessary for everybody to do plant medicine. It is all like what is in your path, because in Asia they have different ways of getting the same type of medicine. It might be they use different tactics, like they use sound medicine. We in South America and Africa, I believe they use plants. So in my culture we use plants, and I'm so connected with nature. So I went down there and my ancestors told me my whole life. It's like, we were there at this point, we were there at this point, we were there at this point. And they welcome, and that's why you didn't die. And that's why. So I was like, whoa, and the whole new world opened up, like a whole dimension, I was like, holy shit, what is happening? Like my 2D environment, or just getting a buy or getting the best job or blah, blah. But my grandma told me all those shattered. Now it's like time to reveal myself, like the real Rossana that I want to be, that I am, that am I forgotten in. And there's like little clues that you leave for yourself. But it was a very, very traumatic experience. And I just felt, they told me, like, you need to go back and spread your knowledge. And I was like, I don't know anything more than they do. It's like, yeah, you do, but you can share it with them. And I'm like, you got the wrong girl. I'm like, go pick somebody else. Like, it's not me. And they were like, come on. I was like, so now I have I'm very open even at work, because I'll talk about spiritualism, about my ancestors, about anything. I don't care, because it doesn't matter. Like, I am me, and that's it. And there's no apologies behind that. So yeah, so I think that's how my path into the plant medicine, it's still going on. I'm still learning, because all my life I lived in New York. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had someone on last week, and she was kind of called to go. She went to Mexico to do ayahuasca, and when she was having the experience, she remembered that her dad, uh, just raped her when she was a little girl. Like, these memories came up, and then
Yeah, that happens.
and so she's like recommending that everybody do this, but she's also saying that it just like wrecked her life, because she realized like why she was doing the things
Yeah.
wrong throughout her life. It kind of like made sense, like, oh, this thing happened, and so this guy that's supposed to be her dad, her protector, was her
Yeah.
violator.
Safekeeper.
And she didn't know, so she was having trouble with, well, what do you do with that experience? What do? You go down there, you have this experience, you see how it is, you're with God, you're seeing things, you see yourself. It's not pleasant. It's not like you were saying, it's not like it's fun hanging out with your friends, smoking a joint, partying. It's like, no, this
Yeah.
might suck. This might be horrible, but it's going to do some good. And I had somebody on before, and she's not the shaman, but she's in Costa Rica, and they do. People will go to the shaman, have the ayahuasca ceremony. Well, she's a Western trained psychotherapist. So when like you have Mr. Business, suit and tie, city guy goes down there and has this experience that blows his mind. Then he has to
Hmm.
go back to, he has to put a suit and tie on again. This is crazy. So what,
Yeah. Go ahead.
what,
Sorry.
yeah. So what she does is she helps people integrate
Oh.
because maybe the shaman's not so good at, I mean, he's in the jungle. He's doing his thing every day, and she's kind of like in between worlds and can kind of like translate. So, do you have a way that helps people integrate what they learn from the plants into their life? Because maybe they still have to go to work and put that suit on, even though they're like, "This is weird. I'm wearing a tie. What's going on here?" So, do you have a way that helps integrate?
Yeah, because at the beginning I had the same struggle. When I first discovered this whole new realm, this whole new experience, I was like, how do you go back to what you were before? How do you, I just a normal person, the quiet one. Well, I was quiet back then. Now it's like nobody stops me from talking. But at first I was like struggling. I was like, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. I don't belong here, you know? Like I kept fighting myself, like I don't belong here. I belong somewhere else. I don't know what the somewhere else is, but not here, you know? But it was a battle within myself that it almost drove me like not crazy, but like it drove me it was just very like a battle in my head of which world do I belong to? Is it the modern world where you are in New York lifestyle and just like all focus about making money, or are you in your spiritual realm, you know? So I believe, so I mean, I remember I was so frustrated, and I think I was in Colombia and I met this lady that was, she was a Mayan. She does a lot of teaching about Mayan ancestry, the Mayan calendars, the Mayan teachings. And we just met, and she came to see me at the hotel because she wanted just to meet me and like, you know, just do some Mayan readings on me. And I'm like, oh, you know. And then she, when she got there, as soon as she got there, she like touched my hand and she was like, "Oh, child, you're struggling, aren't you?" You know? And I was like, I started bawling my eyes out, help me. I'm like, I don't know where I belong, you know? I'm like, I don't know if I should, sometimes I feel like I'm crazy because I'm talking to some people that don't even, not even here. And then sometimes I feel like I should just like get married and buy my little house and live this perfect little life in a little box where I'm not happy. And then she's like, you don't have to choose. One of the best things that I learned is that we don't have to choose whether we belong in this world and that world, because we live in a different era than our ancestors lived. Because our ancestors only lived in the one location, so they didn't have to deal with the pressure of what we are now. Because most of us have migrated to different countries, to different towns. So in our beginnings is in somewhere else now, so we have a bigger challenge to encounter. I see myself as a bridge. We are bridges. So yes, you can. So when I go back to New York, yes, I am still Rosanna, but that doesn't mean I have to fake a personality and be like I'm all suited up, because I was a supervisor myself too. And oh my God. Well, for me, that was my personal decision to leave, resign the supervising position, just because it didn't align with my path. And even though like, but I didn't leave my job completely. Like I still work as an MRI technologist. I still deal with people. I still teach. I still work in the whole, I see things behaving, but my duty in here is integrating my teaching, because a lot of my coworkers, they're so curious, but they're so like, we don't talk about that stuff, but I do. So I feel like there is a purpose why there is particular people from other countries go into, whether it's Mexico, Peru, Colombia, or Costa Rica, to do the plant. That doesn't mean they have to themselves become a shaman or a spiritual worker and leave everything behind. No, they can go back into their houses, into they're actually, they could bring that knowledge in there and spread it. And that's the purpose of it. Like, go and spread it. Go sit in a thing. Talk to the suited up man that's struggling with depression, that has, they cannot even communicate to anyone. Say something. Hey, how's it going? Because now you are the light. You are the candle, and light up his candle. You don't have to run away and say, I don't belong here. Yes, you do. You do belong there. You have to spread the light. That's what you were called to. Whatever you were called to, you know. my brother asked me, sister, if I do ayahuasca, does that mean I'm going to be a shaman? I said, no. You be Jesus. That's who you are. You be the person that you are now. You just bring whatever you want to bring into that. You choose to. And that's how I did it. I mean, I didn't drop my job. When I go there, even to my boss, and I tell him, I said, I'm here and I'm very thankful that you guys are giving me a chance to work with you. I was like, I'll help you as much as I can, but this is not my path. And even when they do events, like I'll speak up and I say, I'm going to sing a song about my ancestors. And I start singing. It's just you. I don't care. And they're all like, yay. But they all embrace it because they have no choice. You know what I mean? But it's up to you. It takes courage because then you're like, are they going to look at me like I have 7 faces? They will either way. It doesn't matter. They have their own life. And some of them, you might help some person that in your job or in your life or in your circle of environment that might be struggling, and you might bring them something that they might need, or remind them of that this is not, because I feel like in me, in my job, when I go back to MRI, I see that a lot of people are stressed out, unhappy, and depressed. So I see my old self in them. So I tell them, hey, life doesn't have to be like here. I said, you can make it whatever you want it to be. I said, I know your mind that might not comprehend right now, but at least you're planting a seed that eventually I believe it will grow, So that's my duty in my job, to empower them, to make them feel like, shit, there is something bigger out there than this world. I told them, like, if you guys are happy here, amazing, and I applaud you. But if you're not, please find something that'll make you happy, So that's how I feel. Like, I don't feel like you have to drop one of the other. You can integrate them perfectly with what you have learned and with the plants and what you already knew. The plants, basically, to me, I feel like sometimes, for me, ayahuasca, it's not like a fixer-upper. You are the fixer-upper. Ayahuasca is just going to light up and be like, hey, that's where you need to work on. Now you do the work. Now you got to go back to your house, got to go back to your family and start building up. It might take years sometimes, for me to build that connection with my family. It's a work in progress. I'm still, working on my relationship with my dad. So it's not like, oh, I'm safe. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. It's
Hopefully
interesting the things that you touch on. A lot of it is, I mean, it's almost like you just go down the list of what I've already written down, of like you touched on these different spots. But like people go out and have this experience, and then they have to go back to their job, and they can see, okay, yeah, it'd be nice to just not have to go to that 40-hour, 60-hour, 80-hour a week job that doesn't seem like a spiritual quest at all, going to a factory or going to the sales job or whatever. But if they can see through the plant or see through yoga or see through some other way, that when you wake up and that alarm goes off at 4:00 in the morning and you get up and you go to you fight the traffic and you get to the job, that can be a spiritual thing too. So it's like the Zen thing of chop wood, carry water. So like when you're chopping wood, you're focused on the chopping wood. You have to chop the wood, but you're just focused on the chopping wood. So it's like a spiritual thing. What could be more spiritual than chopping wood or carrying the water back? Yeah, you have to carry water 2 miles. It's hard. Some spilling out. You trip, you fall. It's hard. You're sore, blisters on your feet. Yeah, it's a spiritual journey. What do you want to expect it to be? It's going to be hard.
Every moment for me, it's a spiritual moment, because and it's funny because before when I was doing things for just doing and making money, I never had enough, and I always felt so angry at my job. I felt angry at the commute. I hated it. I was like, oh, it sucks. But now, like, it's all about in your mind. You have to work within yourself first so you can deliver outside, and that takes time. And then now when I wake up, I'm like, I'm very happy. I'm alive. I say my gratitude like quick, as I'm getting dressed. And then in the car, I will put my medicine songs, and then I'm jamming. It might be traffic, but I'm jamming because I don't care. I have no control. I can control certain things, but I have no control on other things. Am I going to get mad about it? No. If I'm late, I say, hey, guys. Yeah, I mean, I try not to be late at work, but if I am, I say, hey, at least I'm late, but I'm here, So I make the best out of it. I talk to my patients. Some of my patients have cancer, and it's like a healing process for both. But if you find yourself in a situation where, okay, but I hate my job, it's 40 hours, well, that's fine. Do it until you figure out what you want to do and get out. You have a choice. You're not stuck. Even the trees, when they say, well, you're not a tree, well, the trees actually do move. They move underneath, so they move and they find their way. So it's like, even the trees that could figure out a way, I'm pretty sure you can too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was interesting. You were saying like going out to the woods, and your friends are asking even like what's hiking. And I have like I go out to the woods, and a lot of times it's on Sundays.
yeah.
And a lot of times I'll go to this cemetery. It's a really big cemetery, and there's woods, and there's all kinds of really cool trees. I go and I climb the trees. I might climb a tree. I might sit up in one tree for an hour or so, and sometimes I do it to like I call it like a vision quest. I used to call it like a mini vision quest. Somebody don't want to be out there for a few hours, so it's not like I'm
Yeah.
going out to some remote place for a week by myself in one spot and hoping for a vision. But I go out for like 4 hours and just open up, climb a tree, and see what happens. And it's amazing like what happens. It could be the shape of the branches, or it could be just kind of just like be open, and all kinds of things can happen. And I have friends that will go out.
Yeah.
So we're like, we'll climb, we're jumping on stuff. I like to lift rocks and like get a big log on my shoulders and squat it, or like, and I have other friends, like everybody's kind of like has their own strength. So maybe I'm not as good of a climber as one guy, but I can lift a bigger rock than him. And then there's somebody else who can jump farther than us. And then we're all just like encouraging each other.
Yeah.
And it's so cool once you get out. And when we first started putting this
Yeah.
together, which is a pretty informal thing, like there were maybe 8 of us. And so we're meeting at this park where there's a bunch of woods. And so we're all just kind of getting back together. A lot of us are trainers. Most of us are trainers. And so everybody's kind of just talking and loosening up and waiting for everybody to get there. And then like my buddy noticed, it's almost like people needed permission to go into the woods and start doing their things. If it's not something that
Mm-hmm.
people regularly do, they might not quite know. Like you have the friends like, what is hiking? And you're like, oh, I just think you just go walk through the woods. And so maybe
Yeah.
like these experiences that you're talking about, like people need somewhat of a like permission from themselves or something to go have these experiences, and
Yeah.
have
They do.
be able to get up in front of everybody who might be at the other doctors, whatever, and you're singing your song, where how many other people are getting up there doing that sort of thing? I
Yeah.
guess none of them. So you're like this,
Nobody.
but like,
Yeah.
so you might look like the weirdo, but everybody's like jealous. I mean like you really look like a weirdo. I think it's really cool. It sounds like your group of friends,
Yeah.
my
No.
group of
Yeah.
friends, we'd all get together and have a lot of fun. So, and one of the things that I noticed was like, you were saying something about um, your spirituality being unique to yourself. And I wanted to ask you about your owl experience too. So I don't know if those two questions, I kind of just asked you two,
Oh,
but
okay.
I wanted to hear about your owl experience because I have a thing for owls.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you about the owl.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, I would just tell you a story about because my grandma, she has a land in a place called I was gonna say Ayahuasca. No, it's called oh my God, I've totally forgot. But it's the lake that my grandma has land nearby is called Bacucha, and that's the town. It's a north part of the country. It's also farm and also almost similar to Cusco, but it's a bit colder sometimes. And she has land where my grandfather had grew up in that town, Andahuaylas. Anyway, so my grandma used to take us there when we were little with her to go collect corns from the field. So we used to help her and bring all the corns inside there. And then we used to stay in a little shed, and all of us, like the 4 of us with my grandma, she could put us in there to sleep. And I remember one night, and it was like crazy, like the field was dark. There's not really much light because it's like living in the mountains and stuff. So I remember we were sleeping, and then my grandma, and then I woke up like around 3 o'clock in the morning, and my grandma said, and I could hear my grandma screaming outside, like, "Out of here, leave, leave, leave!" And I'm like, what is happening, you know? And then my grandma, she's yelling and screaming like outside, and I'm like scared, like, cause it's like pitch dark. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And grandma comes back inside, and she goes like, "That damn owl, that damn owl!" And I was like, you're talking to an owl? And my grandma, so her belief in her culture, she believes that owls, they come before somebody else dies. So they show up before the spirit of that person leaves. So they come to announce somebody's death. So she was trying to get him away because she didn't know who was dying, you know? But the funniest thing, the next morning, I think 2 days after, the neighbor died. So it was so, I don't know if it was coincidental, I should say, but like it literally, like that happened. So I always remember, like, you know, oh, the owls, they announce people dying. But that was my story with grandma. But that was funny because she was like, she had like a little, like, that thing, like, trying to get this older one, trying to get the owl out of the tree.
Yeah.
But my connection with owls, I like owls because they're so peculiar, like the way they look at you, you know, the way they even think. So they seem, when you watch them, they seem like they know too much, like they know a lot. So there's always, people always relate to them as the wisdom, you know, that they know, because it's just the way that they're like, they know shit, like they move things around, you know.
Mhm.
So I love owls too, and yeah, it's one of my favorite animals. But I think I have 3 animals that I love. Well, I love every animal, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw you mentioned
So yeah, that's my
hummingbirds
story
and
with the owl.
what was the other one?
Well, I have the orangutan.
Oh,
I love the orangutan for me because when I was little, I didn't really I got hugged by my grandmother, but she didn't really have time to like give a lot of love. So I just felt like it was better if I wasn't hugged, you know, because like then I wouldn't be close to anyone. Then nobody, if they were to leave me at one point, it wouldn't hurt that much. So I always kept it to myself. So when people wanted to hug me, I'm like, get away from me, don't touch me, you know? But I always used to see the orangutan with their arms like hanging. So it looked like it wanted to hug you, you know? So, and they come and they hug you. I used to watch it on TV, and I was like, oh, and like, even though like outside, I said it, I didn't want to get hugged, and I like had so many issues with people touching me, but I wanted to be hugged inside. So I always like loved that animal because it was willing to hug you. So I was like, I want an orangutan because then I could hug it, you know? So I don't know, but that was my story with the orangutan.
well,
Yeah.
it's funny how some things stick with us and what they're symbolic of, and the owl in a lot of cultures, not
Yeah.
just uh, yours, the Peruvian. It's a bad news. It's a bad omen. But for me,
Yeah.
what happened was,
That's crazy.
yeah, and I was with a buddy of mine. We were out in these woods. We were climbing trees, and like we were climbing this one tree, and he was up higher than me. Uh, and I look up, and there was a great horned owl in the tree that we're climbing, and it was maybe like 20 feet away and out kind of far, but it was just like not moving. It was just looking at us. And then, so we're like looking at it for a while, and this guy and his son are walking it on the trail away a little bit. And I was like, hey, come over here, check out this owl. And so we're all looking at the owl, and then we ended up talking to this guy um, about some kind of heavy stuff, but that he had going on with his kids. But then later on, my buddy and I were walking, and we're getting ready to leave, and we ended up turning back because there was this part that was real flooded. So we turned back, and we started playing around on this big fallen tree. So we're just kind of like balancing on it, jumping around and doing stuff. And I look up towards what would be the top of the tree. It's fallen, and there's a great horned owl like right there. in the tree that we're climbing. And so that's two trees that we're
Mm-hmm.
climbing that have great horned owls in them on the same day. What are the odds of that? And so I'm like, whoa. And I pointed out to him. And then and the owl is like where he is, he's maybe like 7 feet off the ground on a limb towards what would be the top of the tree. And we were at the trunk. And so I start like walking, and I kept thanking the owl, and I kept asking for permission out loud to keep getting closer. And I kept feeling like the owl was saying it's okay to keep getting closer. And so I kept getting closer, And I sat down when I ended up getting within, I could have reached out and touched him. I ended up getting that close. And I ended up just sitting there. And me and this great horned owl, it looked like this one, we were just looking into each other's eyes and souls and whatever else for a long time. I don't know how long it was. And then after a while, I kind of like came back. And I waved my buddy up because he's still down at the trunk of the tree, down at the bottom. And I'm like, I waved him up. So I got down so he could get back up, so he could climb up to that spot. And so he kind of had that same experience where he could just reach out and touch. And then, so it was like so amazing to be, and I was looking at the talons, and I've seen them on TV. I've seen owls in pictures, and I've seen them behind a cage of some sort. But when you're right there in front of a predator, because owls, they'll attack people. And the talons, they look like, it was like something more, it was like pretty scary looking. They looked like scarier than like steel, like some kind of like space age steel. So if it was just like something weird happened, that thing could be on my face in no time. But I was like wanting to touch it. I was like, is it okay if I touch you? And I wasn't really feeling a yes from the owl on that one. And when I kind of like started to reach out a little bit, it was opening his mouth. And so I decided not to touch. I didn't want to like, but I kind of like regretted not trying, because I think I could have if I wasn't afraid. Once I got scared to touch the owl, if those claws will fuck you up. And I didn't want to hurt the owl. I'm pretty sure I could beat up the owl, but I didn't want to hurt the owl either. So that's like, I didn't want to have to be in some defense situation where I end up hurting its wing or something stupid. And my buddy was quite thankful that I didn't try. He's like, that would have turned that majestic experience into a nightmare. But what I got from it says I'm like processing this experience over the next days. It was like, what I got out was, who are you? That was the message. So the owl's looking at me kind of like this one looks. Most people are just listening, but the show is on YouTube and Patreon for the video. But just like looking right at you like, who are you? And so that's what I took out of it. Yeah. And then a couple days later, I was looking for a new tapestry because I had a heart chakra lotus as my background before. And so I was like, I need a new background. And so I bought this. And so that was my like owl experience. It was just like who are you? And like, why are you here? And then I saw that like, who are you on your Instagram post too. You've mentioned the who are you, and so what else did I have written down? Let's see. So it's like 6:25 now. I know you said you just had about an hour. Are you good on time for a little bit longer, or do you need to start wrapping it up? Or
I think I have like 15 minutes because we have to go record a video.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just instead of asking you a specific question, like, what do you want people to know? Like, what else is part of your mission that you're doing? What are you like? How can people get a hold of you if they want to? Do you do stuff online, or what else are you up to? And do you want people to know?
So I'm a very, I guess, five diamond. Well, I do so many things, and it's the energy that I carry. It's infinite. Like, I am an MRI for a career. I am an MRI specialist. I also did online marketing. I also did speaking. I once spoke. I share my story and connected with people around the world. I traveled to a couple countries doing that. Right now, I'm building what I wanted to build from the get-go, which it started because of a moment of depression where I was found myself lost, which was taking people into the woods and connecting with themselves, not with me, but with themselves. So what I'm starting to do is building that kind of foundation, and I'm starting in New York because that's where I felt compelled to do. I'm holding my first official retreat in upstate New York. That it's going to be bringing the main mission and intention is to bring ancient Peruvian ancestral wisdom into the daily lives of today and how to incorporate that. Also, we are incorporating yoga, meditation, so that's teachings come from India, but we are touching more on the ancestral Peruvian things. I'm having an amazing host that is coming from Peru, and I have a couple yogis that are going to be there, and also some a teacher that's also sings ancestral songs, medicine songs, healing songs. So basically, what I want to provide is a place where we don't really do medicine, because right now I am not called to do that for people. My medicine, I feel like I am going to give people an access to grab their own medicine that they have inside already, because they are their own shamans, they are their own medicine, and I want them to realize that for themselves. They don't need to go to any particular retreat or country or ayahuasca session, because they themselves are ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is just a complementary to your life if you need support, but it's not a thing that you must go and do. If she calls you, then go ahead. But people usually ask me, like, should I or should I not do ayahuasca? And for me, it's like, that's not for me to answer. First, I ask them, why do you want to do ayahuasca? What's your intention? And so for me, it's like, I am 100% supporter of plant medicine, but I also am 100% supporter of doing the things the way they're supposed to be done. Your intention, your purpose, what is you're going to do? Are you going to work after, like, I work with yourself after this point? So what I want to bring is like teaching about different plants, different healings, different methods, sharing what I'm learning, and just like sharing with everybody and creating spaces like that around the world. So I'm starting just in New York, upstate, and I'm also going to later on. We're going to do just like events where we're just going to have 2 hours talks about, because a lot of people, I feel like now it's a big trend to go do the plant medicine just because they heard it was such an amazing experience. They go to different shamans, and all it's about exchange of the money. It's not really like, then you just go to any place, like it's a hip thing to do, it's a cool thing to do now, to go drink ayahuasca in the woods. So it loses its energy and a little bit of respect for the plant. So I want to, like, one thing that I want to do is starting my own city. It's educating, sharing what I think, the process of acquiring an experience, but then your experience is unique to yourself. But at least if you have some sort of guidance, instead of just going in there and paying $5,000 for this shaman that really just like gave you a plant, and then you don't know what the hell happened afterwards. Now you're lost in the world, way beyond than when you started it. So I want, like, kind of help people, uh, some sort of guidance, like if they hear it from somebody. I know there is a lot of things online, but like that's my just. And also another mission that I am, that another plant that I integrated with, which is Wachuma San Pedro, and told me, like, connect with other people. So I'm never in competition with anyone, but I want to unite other people that are doing the same thing as I am doing, because we can all learn from each other. And it's not a competition of should I go to your retreat or should I go to her retreat? No, how about we both unite and create something bigger, because together we're stronger. Separated, it's like we're divided and we're weaker. But if we both unite our wisdom together, we can create something bigger. So to me, it's like, give me your hand, like worker, give me your hand, person that knows more than I do, that I might learn from you, that you might get something from me. I humbly say, teach me, and then we'll go together. So I want to unite people. I don't want to be in competition with nobody, because I'm not. And I want to create that kind of momentum and movement, because I feel like sometimes there's so many retreats and people are like, well, this retreat doesn't teach you what. No, there's in every phase of your life you learn something, and every retreat you will get something too. You might not realize it in there, but you'll get something. But I feel like if you collab together, it's a bigger thing. Like, eventually I vision like having a festival with a lot of people and celebrating life. So right now, what I did to heal myself, I want to do it for other people, which was providing space in nature, teachings what my ancestors, and I think like my ancestors really want me to do this, because they keep pushing on me and like, oh my God, stop talking to me right now. But I have to do it. It's something that I get to do. I don't have to do. I get to, and I'm very passionate about it. um like I said, I only know so little, because it's just the beginning, and daily, constantly. But just even talking to you, or even looking at the owl, it's like I'm gaining some type of like new knowledge, some new insight of myself. It's like, it's and it's like, wow, it's like you are medicine to me and I'm medicine to you at this moment. We're both learning from each other, and it's like, and that's what I want to create. I don't want people to feel like they need some particular guru to teach them something that they don't know. No, yes, you are your own guru. You understand yourself better than nobody. You know who you are. You don't have to go to ask somebody else, who am I? Because you already knew that from the get-go. They don't know you. They don't know what you've been through. They have no idea. You do, though. You can figure it out, you know?
Yeah,
So,
it's very
yeah.
interesting. I love all that. I'm right with you on pretty much all that stuff, and it's interesting. If I just read through all the stuff that I have written down, you pretty much covered it without me even asking about the particular ones. One thing that I was wanting to ask you about was, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but the Munay Yanantan. I might be pronouncing
Oh,
it way off.
Munai Yanti. Munai, yeah. So my beautiful, I call her my sister, my soul sister. Her name is Vanessa. And she's coming to New York she's originally from Peru and Colombia. I think she was born in Colombia, but her parents are Peruvian as well. So she has worked with plant medicine herself. She has served the medicine. She's also an ancestral singer. So she sings a lot of plant medicine. And when we were first connecting to collab together in New York, because she's going to be with me the whole month of September, so, and we're going to host that event with her. She asked me, like, we were both like thinking of what exactly the name should be. So, Munai Janandin is basically a Quechua word. Munai itself means love. Janandin means the duality, or what people know as the yin and the yang, the duality of positive and feminine and masculine. So we felt like it could derive into a balance. So love and balance in your life. You need love in your life for yourself first, and then for the rest of the world. Balance, to balance everything, the equilibrium, whether you are a spiritual person, whatever that spiritual might mean to you, and living in this world where they have some types of rules that you must obey by, because you're living here, and out of respect too. It's giving you what you need right now. Don't disrespect it and be like, this world sucks. No, it is what it is. Make the best out of it, and you can. So how to balance all that so we decided to call it Muna Yananding, meaning love and balance together, and together in your life, and just like in your daily life, and knowing how our ancestors used to deal with things in the past, and how we can do the same thing here now, because we are far beyond what they were in terms of technology, but they were far beyond in terms of healing. So it's an exchange. So it's learning. So That's what Munaya Nanding means.
Yeah,
Very ancestral word too.
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I know you got to get going. I could talk to you about this stuff for a long time. So much of what you were
I
saying
know.
reminds me of like what me and my friends are doing, the non-competitive stuff, the, stronger
Yeah.
together, all that stuff was, I could see how your bunch of friends and my bunch of friends would just get together and everything just be like we knew each other forever. But anyways, so how can people get a hold of you if they like social media or they want to learn more about what you're doing? How can they find you?
Oh, well, my biggest social media that I'm managing right now, because at the beginning I was like kind of just like into myself, and then I called to share with people who I am, because a lot of people it's like, oh, it's so awesome, and I was like, maybe I should share it, you know. So my biggest social media that I use currently is Instagram. People can message me there. My Instagram is, let me see if I remember, it's my name. It's Rossana_RT, Rossana Tello. So they can find me there. I'm also going to be putting the link for the event that is happening. So that's our first event, but we're probably going to be doing more events during September. And also, if people are in New York, we're going to meet up and do some meetups in New York City, Brooklyn, or Queens. And then eventually maybe we can collab together with you and do some retreat in Oregon. And right, is that what you're saying? Yeah. So we can definitely do one there. So eventually we want to start here. So if people want to connect with me for now directly, you can either find me on Facebook, Rossana Tello. Last name is spelled like hello, but with a T, Tello, so Rossana Tello, whatever. So either Facebook or Instagram for now, but right now my website is getting built, and we have my company name is Pachamama's Connections, which means Mother Earth connecting everyone. That's what it means to me, and that's what I want it to mean to the rest of the world, because it's connecting not just one light worker, one person, or even like a business person. Like they're not excluded, because everybody is in their own self. They have some sense. Even like the biggest person that is in business, and it seems like they're just about a money, they're underneath this little skin is a soul, that also is is craving that kind of like, what are you talking about, but so for now, like I said, they could find me definitely on Instagram. They could message me there. Especially right now, I'm promoting a lot the event that's going to come up, which I'm very excited about. So that's just the beginning, and I'm going to do what I need to do. And I know sometimes I know where I'm going, but I might not have the whole entire things planned out. But things are evolving so quickly and so fast that I'm very excited. Yeah. So I'm going to just keep pushing forward. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, very cool. I think we're getting like, it seems like things are like faster and faster, kind of like understanding these like older ways or the need for it. And so I think what you're doing is just going to get more and more
Yeah.
popular in a good way, and not necessarily a trendy thing,
Yeah.
but be just like what people are going back to get back to themselves, the who are you, and helping. I really like what you're doing. It all
Yeah.
makes sense to me. So thank you for coming on the show. It was really cool to talk to you. You have an open invitation to come on
Thank you.
whenever you want. And so I will stop the recording, and I'll talk to you for just
Awesome.
a second when I stop it.
Okay.